Morocco's 18-year-old superstar destroys Brazil. Meanwhile, Turkey have just been Irankunded. Scotland win their first World Cup game in 36 years. And Qatar unexpectedly stunned Switzerland. This is DMAC Daily. 4 World Cup games in one day. Now that's a proper match day. Some huge fixtures in the past 8 or so hours. So much to discuss. But we start off with arguably the most high-profile matchup of the tournament thus far, with Brazil taking on Morocco. Two countries with vastly conflicting trajectories. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it's no secret that Brazil have been in perennial decline over the last 2 decades. Their squad in 2026 is a direct reflection of that. Long gone are the days of Joga Bonito football and superstars everywhere you look. Don't get me wrong, they've still got some world-class individuals amongst their ranks, but the collective quality is evidently not what it used to be. They were pretty bang average in recent World Cup qualifying, so late on, they brought in Carlo Ancelotti, an all-time great manager, in the hopes of reviving a fallen giant. Morocco, on the other hand, are experiencing the exact opposite fate. A golden generation had emerged in 2022, resulting in a world-first semi-final appearance by an African nation at a World Cup. But in the years ahead, they've since evolved. Further big names have emerged. The country has also invested heavily in their footballing infrastructure. They reached the AFCON final, they won the U20 World Cup in 2025, and the manager in charge then has now stepped into the senior team. So there were big expectations and a lot of pressure for Owabi's side coming into today. But boy, oh boy, this version of the Atlas Lions is more exciting than ever. The fact that Sofiane Amrabat, arguably their best performer in 2022, didn't step onto the pitch today speaks volumes about the team's evolution. Amrabat embodied that resilient workhorse spirit, but they no longer require this kind of profile in the heart of central midfield because they are technically incredible now in the year of 2026. You've still got the spine of the team, Hakimi, Mazraoui, Bunu in goal, Unahi in the 10, but the next gen is pure class. Brahim Diaz and El Khanous on the wings. What an upgrade to Ziyech and Boufal from 4 years prior. Up top, huge question marks were asked as En-Nesyri was snubbed, but instead, Saibari has been entrusted, a player who isn't even a traditional striker, but he has come into this side and given them another dimension. He's quick, he's technical, and can finish, scoring on his first ever World Cup appearance in spectacular fashion. I can't emphasize enough just how good that was. No wonder Bayern Munich are chasing him. However, in saying that, the stars of the show today were in central midfield. Roma's El Ainaoui. What a well-rounded midfielder he is. He can do it all. And his partner in crime, just wow. Ayoub Bouadi, 18 years of age, and he's absolutely ran the show. Guys, the breakout star of this year's tournament has arrived. Truth be told, he's been around for some time already. He balled out against Real Madrid in the UCL earlier this year and is amongst Ligue 1's best midfielder already, but I was still in awe of today's performance. The composure, the mental maturity, the footballing brain. This kid is the truth, man. Best player on the park for me. France will be devastated to have missed out on his commitment. Remember, he'd played for their country in 5 separate youth grades, but he opted for Morocco, and in his first performance against the World Cup's most successful nation, he absolutely bossed it. From Brazil and Don Carlo's perspective, a very mixed day at the office. In the opening 20 minutes or so, they couldn't string 2 passes together and quickly found themselves a goal down. Casemiro was looking like the football left him once again. An awful display from the 34-year-old. He was hooked at halftime alongside Ibanez, who was deputizing at right back and struggled. Luckily for Brazil, though, a moment of pure class from Vini Jr. got them back into this contest. In his 50th appearance for the Seleção, he stepped up to the occasion well and truly. A player who is always one game away from being heavily criticized. This moment will mean everything to him and Brazil. If they are to have any hopes of accomplishing something this tournament, then Vini Jr. needs to be at the peak of his powers. But his heroics aside, the other attackers largely underwhelmed. Igor Thiago missed a golden opportunity and was otherwise ineffective. He's being slandered on social media. Paqueta was average. Rafinha wasn't great either. His qualities are so well suited to Flick's system, but on the right and in the 10 for Brazil, I'm not so sure. Estevao clearly is a big loss in that regard. Speaking of former Palmeiras talents, and I can't lie, I was gutted to not see Endrick enter the field. I thought he'd get at least a 10-minute cameo today. Surely at some point Ancelotti has to unleash this man, because as raw and unpolished of a forward as he is currently, he has that rare X-factor talent that's clearly missing from this attack. To be fair, Cunha did a decent job coming off the bench, but Ancelotti, let Endrick cook, please. Look, overall for Brazil, a disastrous first half, but Vini came in clutch and the second half display was better. This midfield is not great. I see them struggling against similarly technical teams, but I don't think it's all doom and gloom just quietly. More than anything, I think today's performance speaks volumes about just how good Morocco are. In my lifetime, I've never witnessed a midfield from an African nation of such poise and technical elegance. It's only one game, but I really think Morocco are a new and improved problem. We head next to Vancouver, and ladies and gentlemen, Turkey have just been Irankunda. The Socceroos have defeated the Dark Horses 2-0 in one of the most iconic results in Australian football history. Everyone had the boys in green and gold written off before a ball was even kicked today. But one thing people need to understand is that when it comes to the Socceroos, man, these guys just have got that dog in them. Just ask Denmark 4 years prior. Just ask last tournament's winners, Argentina. If it wasn't for Dibu's last minute save in the round of 16, it could have been an entirely different tournament. The point I'm making here is that for what this team lacks in individual quality, we make up for in sheer work ethic and determination. In saying that though, this is actually a fantastic crop of players. The most exciting generation I've seen come through since 06. Serious talent all across the park. People need to respect the quality that this team possesses, but coming into this fixture, all the question marks were around who would start in the back three, in central midfield, and would Popper have the courage to finally let Irankunda loose? Well, he did exactly that, but it wasn't without an absolute bombshell in the team news, with skipper Matty Ryan, the most experienced player in the entire squad with over 100 caps to his name off the back of an incredible season with the Levante in La Liga, dropped out of nowhere for Patrick Beach, the Melbourne City youngster who had only made 2 friendly appearances prior. Simply no one expected this. It was a somewhat similar situation with Paul Ocon Jr. given the start ahead of Jackson Irvine, but Popper's selection gambles proved to be a masterstroke, as Ocon, my Sydney FC GOAT, found Irankunda in space, with the Socceroos star proceeding to send the nation into a frenzy, getting in behind his fullback, skinning Turkey's centre-back before slotting past the keeper perfectly. Just an unbelievable moment. The fearlessness, the finish, hitting the Timmy Cahill celly right after 2. That was a special moment right there. Every Socceroos fan will remember where they were when they rewatch that in the years to come. Immediately, Turkey looked to hit back, but were limited to pop shots from range. With every save, Beach grew in confidence, the pick of the bunch coming in that first half. A fingertip stop to prevent Barakci's strike from outside the box, tapping it onto the post. Then in the second half, Turkey went up a gear, bringing in Kenan Yildiz and Akgun shortly after that. Unfortunately for Yildiz, he was coming back for an injury, which is why he didn't start. But for the next 30 minutes, it was proper haram ball from the Socceroos, or should I say, Popper haram ball. Turkey gave everything. Gula, Çalhanoğlu, Yildiz, all the stars were trying everything they could, but they simply couldn't break down the great wall of Burgess, Suta, and Çirkati, winning every duel. They were blocking shots non-stop. It was the best defensive display I have ever seen from the Socceroos. Beach kept coming in clutch as well with countless saves. The wingbacks were immense, bombing up and down all game, and after so much defensive work had been put in, Metcalf received the ball in space, set himself, and let rip on his left peg. Absolute cinema. Another incredible moment. Green and gold limbs all around the stadium and across the country. At that precise moment, I knew it was over, as the Socceroos kept a clean sheet in a 2-0 victory. 10 World Cup debutants in that starting 11 alone. Take a freaking bow, lads. Take a bow, Popper. You have pulled off a masterclass in Vancouver. Think of how much negativity would have been received had he not won that game. This Turkey team is also objectively very good, But this isn't Popper's first time pulling off a huge result as an underdog. We all know he did an exceptional job in World Cup qualifying, but what stands out to me with Popper was what he previously did with the Wanderers many years ago, taking this team to Asian Champions League glory in just the second year in the club's existence. That was one of the most underrated football accomplishments like ever. So it's honestly not surprising to see this man pull this off. I can't imagine how Beach must have felt at full time. One of the best World Cup debuts I can remember for a keeper. I can't speak highly enough about the guy. The mental fortitude to step in at the expense of Ryan. What a career he's got ahead of him with the Socceroos and probably in Europe. We move to Boston next, where Scotland have also secured a monumental victory, defeating Haiti 1-0 to pick up their first World Cup victory in 36 years, putting Steve Clarke's side firmly in the hunt for the knockout stages. The decisive moment came in the 28th minute when captain John McGinn's strike took a deflection and found its way into the net. It proved enough in the end to separate the two sides, but the scoreline perhaps flattered Scotland, who were made to work extremely hard for all 3 points. Fair play to Haiti. They created several dangerous opportunities throughout the contest, gave a great account of themselves and forced Scotland to dig deep, but they were able to contain the Caribbean side in the end, taking all 3 points to now sit top of their group ahead of the likes of Brazil and Morocco. I feel like this Scotland team is set up to absorb pressure quite well, with McGinn, Ferguson and McTominay in midfield, all absolute workhorses. Doak on the wing with his trickery and pace, causing all sorts in that first half today. They've also got their fullbacks bombing up and down. Technically, this team is rather limited at times, but I do love a good old 4-4-2 team setup. 2 centre forwards with a physical presence. Realistically, I think they need at least a point to guarantee a spot in the knockout stages. That one win might not be enough in the end, having only scored 1 goal today, but to be honest, I could genuinely see Scotland pulling off an upset against either Morocco or Brazil. That might be a hot take to some, but what I see in Scotland is quite similar to what the Socceroos possess, that willingness to suffer. It really is an underrated quality, and there's a lot of battlers in that squad. Last but not least, in today's opening fixture of the day, a major upset unfolded as an incredibly wasteful Switzerland were denied a victory at the hands of Qatar as the Gulf nation popped up with an equalizer in the 94th minute. This was the definition of a smash and grab result. Switzerland registered 26 shots in total to Qatar 6. No pun intended, but the golfing class today between these two sides was enormous. On another day, the Swiss comfortably put 4 or 5 past them, but they were oh so poor in front of goal. A genuine concern that the only time they found the net was via a penalty too. And despite Qatar's keeper Abu Nada giving away the penalty, he'd certainly make up for it with an otherwise outstanding display in goal, making several big saves throughout to keep them alive. And then in the final moments, a ball was whipped into the box where their skipper rose highest at the back post and proceeded to bury it past a helpless Kobel, the central defender with the most unlikely of goals to seal Qatar's first ever point in the World Cup. There's such an interesting nation to analyze because in 2022 they were so abysmal as a host nation that everyone just wrote them off in advance for this year. But remember, this same team has also won back-to-back Asian Cups. I still personally think they aren't a great side and will struggle against Canada and Bosnia and Herzegovina, but this result will surely give them some much needed confidence moving forward. This group is now wide open following this draw. I assumed the Swiss would comfortably top Group B, but now I'm not so sure. Their only minor positive for me today was the substitute cameo of Johan Manzambi. He looked lively from the get-go. His end product wasn't there like the rest of his teammates, but he surely has to start after today's display. All in all, a pretty underwhelming watch as a neutral, probably my least favorite game of the entire tournament. But anyways, lads, that's all for today's video. I need some sleep, but we go again tomorrow. Take care.